Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and that is Tim.
Yo.
We talk about horror movies on this show, and in this episode we're going to look at a recent release. Just came at home video, and that is Greta. This was one. I don't think this was one that was released at different times for us, and that's why we couldn't do it. I think this was. Were you away for like a week or something like that?
I believe so. That sounds about right. I think that because I think there was some reason because I did want to see this in theaters, and then just one of those ones where I think we missed the first week, and then it was kind of like showings. I don't even know how long it was still in theaters. And
the showings nosedived at certain theaters after. It just happens with a lot of horror movies. But we're doing it now. This is Greta starring Chloë Grace Moretz and Maika Monroe. Who and obviously Isabelle Huppert, who's the titular Greta, but I'm mentioning those two because I know who those two are from various things. As Tim's dog is protesting against the use of a dog in this movie. Absolutely protesting.
He's not happy about that.
So we will start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I mentioned those two because I know them both from various things. Obviously, Chloë Grace Moretz was Hit Girl and then went on to be in a bunch of stuff. Maika Monroe, notably for us, was the not titular, but the lead in It Follows. She was not the titular It.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize at first because I don't know, like she's so I don't know. It's strange because I've seen that movie so many times. Like I absolutely love it, and then but yeah, I cannot like pick her out of a lineup for the life of me. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But Chloë Grace Moretz, though, she's like a little bit of a horror star. She's been in quite the number of horror movies.
She was in the Carrie remake.
Let Me In. Suspiria, a lot of remakes. Actually.
Yeah, she had a small role in Suspiria. Yeah, you're right. Joe is so weird about that is that I feel so old with her because like when we were introduced to her, she was like 11, 12 and Kick-Ass, and now she's like 22. She's like an adult doing that, it's not adult movies. You know what I mean? Like she's playing adults in movies, and I'm like, this is weird. I feel so old now. Like, what the hell?
yeah, it's weird. It's one of those. I feel like a lot of the other like younger stars that are like still acting now, like are ones that we kind of grew up with and stuff. And this does feel like kind of the one of the first ones that was like, oh no, like I was old when she was young, and I'm like even older now.
Yeah, because I mean, Kick-Ass came out in 2010, so I was 21 when that came out. So now she's so now it's 9 years later. She's 22, and I feel ancient, even though I'm only 30 and I'm much younger than Tim. This is important.
Oh, come on.
much younger. Tim's an old man compared to me.
That just means I'm that much wiser.
I'm just going to let the silence speak for itself there. I don't have to make any jokes. I just need to let that land and let everyone digest what you just said. So, what is Greta about? Greta is a film about, and if you've seen the trailer, you get the premise as well. But Greta is this woman who's about 60ish, maybe a little around that, and she leaves purses on subway cars and around public areas in the city in New York, in the hopes that someone will be nice enough to return it to her, then so that she can then form a relationship with the person and kind of begin stalking them and obsessively pursuing them. And it seems to be that she wants something of a daughter figure to replace her own daughter. And her main character of Frances, Chloë Grace Moretz's character, she lost her mother the year previous to the film starting, and that kind of sets up like maybe she needs a mum to fill in that void, and that's kind of the temptation for her to get into this relationship. So the movie starts with her finding the bag and taking it to Greta's.
Greta.
Yes. It's look, I was finding my sentence. All right, I was finding my sentence.
So much wiser.
Oh dear. So that's the basic premise of the film, and then Maika Monroe plays her roommate, who kind of helps her out here or there, and is concerned about her when she's getting more deep into this relationship. And the trailer actually probably spoiled too much for my taste because I remembered a lot of details from the trailer when I was watching this. I think it went too far, but she does definitely, obviously, eventually realize the deceit that is at play, and it makes the relationship a little more tense and stalkery. So I'll leave it there for spoiler free, and I will ask Tim the question: did you enjoy Greta?
Not really. It's a perfectly watchable movie. Like, there isn't anything offensively bad that's like, oh my god, this is so hard to watch, or I gotta shut this off, or whatever. Like, it's fine for what it's doing, but I didn't really find it very compelling. I don't think any of the characters are very interesting. I feel like we never really get, like, obviously everyone's like a really good actor, but I don't think they're doing like a great job in this. Everyone feels very flat, and I feel like you don't really get much detail or kind of insight into these characters or their lives.
That could be more to do with the direction than the actors. Then, if you think they're all good actors, and then you think but the performances feel a bit flat, that could be more on the director and how they've been directed in the scenes. Yeah,
that's totally fair. But it's also, I don't know if this makes sense, but like it feels very. Like the pacing is very weird to me because it feels very slow and fast at the same time, because like I was surprised at the speed of which we find stuff out in this movie, because I feel like you don't really get like I feel like you find out very early on that like Greta is crazy. Like I thought there was going to be like a much bigger build up to the relationship, and like you were saying how she kind of wants a daughter and she lost a mother. So I did think there was going to be more of that bond forming, but I feel like you really don't get that much. And then like, she's just kind of like all of a sudden, like, finds out, about the purses and kind of turns on her. But then I say it also feels like kind of weirdly slow paced because, at one point I thought the movie was over and I looked and like had like 45 minutes to go. I was like, oh, this is, it kind of feels longer than I thought it was going to be. So it's like, it's not I don't know. It's just weird.
You say it's the worst of both worlds. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying there. Like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword with the idea of like how well it, because I feel like as the audience we have to know she's crazy early on, because it's it's a horror movie. We have to know that there's a threat, and if it was just this sweet relationship with this girl and this older woman, like if that was like an hour of the movie, it might like not that would necessarily be bad, but it would have to play it more like I don't know, kind of like how something like Psycho goes like almost like 45 minutes before it's like, oh no, here's what the real movie is, kind of thing. Like up until that point it's under this pretense. This doesn't want to do that. This wants to let us know that there's a threat, that Greta is a menace of some kind pretty early on. And the trailer definitely wanted us to know that as well, because it didn't hold any of that back.
Yeah. Like the first first like 45-50 minutes or so, it felt like just an extended version of the trailer.
I agree with that actually 100%. I totally get that. I remembered all the scenes from the trailer and it kind of just felt like it was playing out in slower time, which maybe is what made it feel a little bit worse than what it should have done, because like if you were just watching this completely blind and didn't know anything about what was going on, maybe you wouldn't feel that way about it as much. I probably like it a little bit more than you do. I do think it's not like anything special or great. I think the performance of Isabelle Huppert actually kind of is probably the most interesting thing about it. She does her crazy obsessive sort of shtick very well, I think. I think the movie does a really good job of not being annoying, which I think this premise could have quickly become annoying. I don't think it does. I think you do lose a little bit of something in it though, because like you say, it moves at such a pace with the information revealing, despite the fact that it also feels slow paced. I feel like typically I expect this to be slower paced in terms of its story unraveling. And that's ultimately which can lead to either it feeling more fulfilling because it's taken the time to do everything properly, and you feel the relationship break down and you feel this kind of turn of events, more often than not, though, with a story like this where you're dealing with this character who turns out to be untrustworthy, it's actually a tedious experience where you've kind of figured it out very early on compared to the characters, and the character not getting it and like defend. It's because the scene that I was expecting in this, which we get a little bit of but not too much, luckily, is where everyone else has kind of like come to the conclusion that Greta's dangerous and she shouldn't be hanging around with her, but you know, Francis will defend her and say, no, Greta's a sweet old lady, she's the bestest, you know, how dare you, like she's a dear. And it didn't really do that much. Like there was like one scene of like the roommate, oh, you're hanging out with her again? Well, that's weird, hang out with us instead. And she kind of gives her shit for it. Like there's like one scene of it and it's not that bad even, it's not like she's dangerous, it's just this is kind of weird. And I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad, and that was okay. But at the same time though, I don't think it ever really lives up to really doing anything that feels memorable, where I feel like I got something that was like, you know, either shocking or genuinely really tense. There's a couple of cliched scenes for sure, but I never felt like, I don't know, that it was missing a spark. It was missing that thing that made it feel like I was watching something special, or I was watching something that, you know, I was going to remember in a month's time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, in 2 years' time, I don't think people are going to be talking about this movie. You know, whereas, you know, something like Psycho or Misery or whatever will, you know, like live on, you know, well past its days. This, it's just a very, again, not the worst thing ever. You know, it's not offensively bad. It's just, you know, I don't know, it doesn't really do much or stand out.
It's very inoffensive. That's kind of the phrase I'd use for it. It's very inoffensive in every sense of the word. But not a bad movie either. Like I think it's an easy enough watch. Like if like you need something, a cheap rental to throw on, and you've seen everything else. Like
I do think, like, you know, I like the idea similar to Ma of these horror movies of just being like, I like the idea of, you know, how much like old people suck and how they're like, you know, clinging to, you know, young people, and you know, kind of that mentality of like.
it's funny you say that, because one of the things that's often talked about with horror movies is how the trends in horror films and what's being made tend to reflect the fears of the time in the real world. And so if you want to argue, because the argument that for the reason why we had so many home invasion movies in the 2000s was because a fear of terrorism was what? What was that, Tim?
Like Home Alone.
Well, not a horror movie.
Sure.
Or
I should have said Home Alone 4. That was probably in the 2000s.
That was probably in the 2000s.
Yes.
Yes. But you know, that was a fear of terrorism. If you go further back, you can relate it to real things that were going on. One of the things that comes up a lot now is the idea of the generational gap, and the idea that the baby boomers have ruined everything for the millennials, and the millennials feel like the baby boomers have like made the world uninhabitable for them.
And they're like, and you know, and there's been like a lot of stuff, like I've been listening to you know, like some podcasts and stuff, and talking about this idea of like, these you know, boomer, like you know, there's less jobs out there today for like young people because these, you know, the boomers are, you know, they keep working and they're not like, you know, retiring or dying off and like, you know, giving room for other people to take over. So it's kind of like this, they have this stranglehold on like, you know, the economy and everything, and the younger generation is just kind of screwed. So I do like that. Yeah, that kind of commentary bleeding into horror movies.
Yeah, and it's not so much that I think there's anything overt in this that kind of links it to that, but I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of the trend between this and Ma. You know,
a kind of little zeitgeist kind of thing.
Yeah. Or it's just saying middle-aged to older women, don't trust them, they're evil, and they'll they'll kill you. They'll kill you. So yeah.
I do wonder what I wonder what the boy is saying about what conscious fear what that movie was brainstormed from.
That's a movie about coddling your child too much, so they become too dependent.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. It's a very smart film. dissect it for days.
Oh dear. I mean, I would like to take a blade to it, I suppose. I don't know if I'd call it a dissection. So a couple of notes I'll make before we go into spoilers, things I can just talk about outside of that. I want to mention, I think the direction's typically fine. It doesn't do anything that annoys me, really. There was one or two moments, though, where I felt like they overplayed it a little bit. I was thinking, actually, very specifically, of the moment where she finds all the handbags in the cupboard. You know, she opens it up and she sees them all. I thought that she does this thing where she immediately gasps and puts her hand up against her mouth, and the music's like, dun, right? And I just thought they overplayed it a little bit. Like, I thought this should be a moment of her, like, kind of like it dawning on her what this is. It feels like she just instantly gets what's happened immediately as soon as she looks at it. But it's such a weird thing that someone has done. And it's not hard to understand, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's like a complex idea, but it's just, I feel like there should be a moment of her, like, sort of just realizing, like, what this means, as opposed to just immediately being like, like, dun dun dun.
Also, like, I did think it was kind of strange that she, like you said, she automatically goes to, oh my God, this woman's crazy. I need to get away from her. Where I kind of thought, like, you know, that she might be like, oh, this is kind of sad. Like, this person is lonely, so they're trying to, this is how they meet people. Like, I thought there might be some kind of element of that to it,
like you could almost read it as like she's not actually a psychopath who's going to hurt anyone. This is just how she's trying to meet people. Well, she's clearly wealthy because she's putting in like money into every purse that she's leaving behind.
But yeah, it is another one of those weird things where, like, she instantly is like, oh, this person's gonna kill me. I need to, like, cut her off of my life. Yeah,
it's almost like she knows she's in a horror movie, so she's reacting just immediately appropriately instead of having a moment where she, like, you know, considers any other possibility. And don't get me wrong, once she starts stalking her, that's fair. There is an amazingly, I mean, it's actually a pretty entertaining scene, but it's also very kind of, it's really guilty of that thing people always joke about with slasher movies, where, like, how is Michael Myers teleporting from here to there, and that there's a scene where Greta is like stalking her roommate and like taking photos of her, and like somehow she's never seen, but she keeps taking these photos from behind her, and then eventually what's the character's name, Erica, she gets on a bus, right, and it's a bus that just pulls up. She's not like standing waiting for it. She was going to go to like an Uber or Subway, and she like, jumps on the bus, and then there's a photo taken from her from behind further up the bus, and I'm like, how did she get there? How did she get on the bus? Like, no. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. But whatever. I mean, it was an entertaining enough scene in its own right. But it was like really, it stopped being like anything that was trying to resemble reality and just turned into like a not cheesy, but like a just a horror movie. It became a movie and stopped pretending to be anything remotely real. So yeah, and you can also argue that there's like an idea in the film that no one really wants to take her. I mean, her roommate does, obviously, and her father eventually does over the phone. But the idea when she calls the police, she's basically just like given a bunch of like, well, this is why we can't do anything, and this is why you know we can't really treat this seriously. She's literally told to just ignore her at one point.
That was, I mean, that was definitely frustrating. The thing that drove me crazy was her manager. Like, I feel like she probably could, I don't know, sue that, like, restaurant or something, because, like, that's definitely a hostile work environment when you tell your manager, hey, this lady's stalking me, I don't want to talk to her, and your manager's like, I don't care, get rid of her. Like,
this woman is stalking to me. It's where she stalks and talks at the same time.
Yeah.
That's that wisdom coming out there again, Tim. You hit me with more wisdom. She's stalking, she's talking, stalking to me.
Stalking to me, yeah. That works. Let me type it into Word and I'll see if I get like a red squiggly line.
I actually wasn't sure if he was. I thought it was just a concierge. He was just kind of in charge. But yeah, maybe it may have been the because we never saw a manager. So yeah, it may be him. Yeah.
Whatever coworker or whatever it is. But I mean, I've definitely like. Yeah, like I've worked in places before where, like nothing that serious, but people are like, oh, like, I don't want to talk to this person. And it's like, yeah, like it is up to the manager at that point to be like, hey, all right, I'll take care of it. Or, someone above you, like, yeah, it's very ridiculous.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
like, the amount that person then like gets mad at her is crazy.
Yeah. Especially, I think women in public, service of any kind, every so often they're going to get someone who gives them shit.
Yeah.
And gives them, and not that guys don't get shit, but women definitely get it more often because they get creeped on. And I think that's the position where the manager should be like, yeah. And it's almost like you can almost read into it, the movies try to like make a comment on the idea that he sees it's a woman and he goes, well, it's just an old woman. Like, no, you deal with her. Like,
that's true.
It's the sort of thing where if he saw like a big guy or something like that, he might be like, okay, I'll step in and be the white knight here and protect her because he sees something that he understands as danger. But because it's just a woman, he's like, no, yeah, it's a woman. You can deal with it. Well, you don't need me for this. Piss off. Like,
yeah. Like, I assume that's usually what happens when you go into any restaurant.
Well, the person serving me goes and gets the manager because they're too scared to talk to me. Yeah. I don't know. This guy looks like he hosts a podcast or something. Can you talk to us? Oh, dear. At least I get in the door, Tim. They turn you away at the door. You're like, no, this man's not groomed. He's not getting in the restaurant. Go to the Chuck E. Cheese down the road.
Hey, good pizza there.
Tim,
I don't mind the stairs.
I have not had a pizza in almost 2 months, Tim.
You have not had any pizza in 2 months?
Nope.
Wow. Well, I'm sure everything else you're eating is just salads then.
I've not had pizzas, I've not had any burgers. I've been trying to be good, alter my diet appropriately.
Oh, well, good for you. That's a good thing.
Yes, it is a good thing. I do miss pizza, don't get me wrong. Pizza's fantastic. I'm not downplaying the love of pizza by any means.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure I'll have a cheap one every once in a while, but I've been very good.
Actually, yeah, we actually eat fairly okay during the week. Like, we use this service called Dream Dinners, where you actually go to this place and like you kind of prepare all these different meals, and then you freeze them, and then you can take them out whenever. So we actually eat like, I mean, not like super healthy, but not like that bad. I think most of the stuff throughout the week, but then usually on the weekends we will have like, I don't know, maybe get a pizza or takeout or something. So
what you're saying is that no one cooks. You just go and get everyone to the made up and unfreeze it during the week.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. I mean,
not that I'm judging. I can't cook to save myself, but
yeah. I mean, we still go and we take all the ingredients and put everything together. It's all pretty much like all there for you. And then, it takes out any like hard work of, finding out what you need. And
when you have the wisdom of Timothy Virgilius Chow, you don't have time. You have to save your time. So you do this so you can do more important things. You can do brain surgery and solve cancer and things like that.
I mean, I don't. And who has time for that? I do put my brain to intellectual pursuits of a smart nature.
He writes a character in a comic book called Goatman.
Hey, I think that's better for the world than other things.
Better than a cure for cancer. Goatman, Tim's new comic book. Order it now.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh dear. What we were making some sort of a point about something before we tangented into Oblivion.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just give a spoiler warning so we can talk about the rest of the movie. So full spoilers for Greta. I'm trying to make a food based pun with the name Greta. Like to Greta your cheese or something like that.
Okay.
like
Decent.
grating your cheese. I'm explaining it too much now, so it's not funny anymore. But I just why did you know the effort was there? I was thinking about it.
I mean, I don't know. There's a grilla, Greta, grill Greta. I don't know.
A gretted cheese. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Sure.
This is terrible. This has devolved into something that's unsustainable. I'm deeply upset by it. So, yeah, what do you want to talk about the movie, Tim? Do you want to talk about Greta getting her pinky cut off? Is that something?
That was surprising. With a cookie cutter.
Yeah, she's already kidnapped and like drugged Frances by this point, and she's got her in a dress, and she's like, "You're going to help. I'm going to teach you how to make these fancy French cookies," and
Spoiler alert: she ain't French.
She ain't French. She's actually from Hungary. Well, she explains why she's eating so much all the time. But
oh, great! You always call me out for lame jokes. Come on. What are you doing?
That was a pro. Hey, do you know they invented drinking in Finland?
No, I did not know that.
Hence the expression, "Have you finished that?"
Okay, all right, that's not bad. I'll give you that one.
I'll take points. So, yeah, she cuts off a pinky, and she almost gets away, but unfortunately, Greta's just too much of because there's a moment early on when she first comes over to the house where we hear banging upstairs, and it's heavily implied that she's already got a kidnapped victim and she's rotating through them, sort of, so one's at the end of the cycle, Frances at the start of the cycle, so she gets really mad at her and she puts her back in this trunk that she's got, the box, and we find out that her real daughter Nicole actually committed suicide a few years ago, largely because of like how her mother treated her and put her in a box as a kid and made her practice piano till her hands bled and all these kind of things. And we get a couple of scenes where we have this private investigator. What? Because for a period of time, no one knows she's missing because her dad thinks she's on vacation with her roommate, and her roommate thinks she's on vacation with her dad. And it's not until the dad shows up in New York and is like, "Hey, where's my daughter?" that they're like, "Oh shit." So we get PI.
Yeah. So here's what I don't get, and because the dad, we just see him going straight to a PI. He doesn't go to the cops first, right?
No, I think this is, it's a little bit weird that it doesn't. I think the movie's justification for it is that we've already seen the cops kind of like shrug it off, the stalking itself previously a couple of times.
That's fair, but my thinking is, okay, so your daughter's been missing for a while now, and then you did have a very public incident earlier where the police did have to drag this woman away.
That's true. And she even Frances even has this thing where the cop who told her to ignore her, she's like, just ignore her, huh? She makes like a point of kind of throwing it in his face.
So like, I know, like, in horror movies a lot of times there would be this kind of justification as to why the police can't be helpful, but I think this is like one instance where it's like, no, if you went to the police, like, I feel like they would probably be like, oh shit, like, we have a very clear suspect, like there's a very obviously someone that has already had multiple incidents and stuff reported. Like it seems like they would easily go check that out.
Yeah, because Greta, and this scene's in the trailer, but Greta like goes to a restaurant as a patron of the restaurant. You can be one of our patrons over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But no, she's a patron at the restaurant.
We'll become obsessed with you.
I mean, we're already obsessed with you. We split the list of patrons in two, and Tim's got half, I've got the other. So no, like, and she freaks out. She like smashes a glass and she like storms at her, and people have to like hold her back, and like it's a really public thing. And she's sort of dragged away with her hands. Like it's not quite a straitjacket, but she's got like she's definitely tied up, and. It like so yeah. Now you're right. Like at this point, like, and given the fact that when they realized that she's technically then been missing for like 2 weeks or a week or however long the vacation was supposed to be, and at that point it's like, I mean, sure, the police, if there was no incidents, they could argue that okay, maybe she's just lying to both of you and she's somewhere else. But given that she's already been harassed by someone who's been arrested, like, if at this point it feels like, you know, maybe go check the woman's house out.
Yeah, at the very least, you know, you would, probably be assigned someone that would go check that out. But
probably in a pair, which would have helped in this case, because the PI goes alone, and when he sort of starts to like catch on to the fact that she might be in the house, Greta just sneaks up behind him and, you know, needles him with whatever concoction she's using to knock people out.
Yeah. Now, I will say I did actually like this scene because, like, once you kind of get to this point in the movie, it does kind of, you know, delve into like a full-on horror movie, and some of it I bought more than others. Like, you know, some parts with Greta, I was just kind of like, I don't know if I'm buying this, but I do like this scene where she's kind of like tiptoeing around, like, you know, she takes off her shoes and she's wearing like, you know, whatever, like, you know, just kind of like stockings or whatever, and, you know, she's kind of like creepily, you know, jumping and tiptoeing around very quietly, and I did kind of like that.
Yeah, and it's a strategic thing, because it's so that he can't hear her sneak up behind him. Is to quiet her footsteps a bit. Do you know what I actually do quite like the ending though? It's probably my favorite part of the movie is that we see like a sort of montage whilst Francis is still in the trunk. We see a montage of, like, you know, the purse he's been left on subway trains again and things like that, and we see someone pick it up, but we never see her face. We just kind of like get this shot from behind, and I almost was convinced it was about to end and it was just going to be this idea that this is going to happen forever, like she's just going to keep doing this, and then we don't see the new person's face because it doesn't matter. It's just she represents all the next people that this is going to happen to. But they do a really nice swerve here where when she comes in for the coffee or whatever, where Greta gets groggy and realizes she's being drugged, and then just from behind we see the person take off the black wig and it's blonde hair, and you sort of realize this is the roommate, this is Erica, who's kind of like intentionally, you know, been lured into the trap so that she can come and save her friend. I actually like that reveal. It was a nice little thing where I got that it was happening right before it happened, but it kind of landed nicely. The actual like running about afterwards, where they, you know, try to, like, you know, hide from her and hit her and whatever, is just fine. It's whatever. But I like that little reveal. I thought that worked fair enough. In the film. Yeah, no,
that was a nice little surprise. I didn't really see it coming, and then but you know, it's I mean, I guess maybe there it could have been like a little bit of a stretch of like, oh, like, yeah, what are the chances that she's the one? But then, you know, everything is in place. So, like, you know, she, you know, because she knows her scheme and she knows you know, where she left her purse originally, and so she knows what to look out for. She
even has a line where she says, "You know how many trains I was riding around on until I found it." Like, you know, like she was looking for a while, and like you say, she knew what her system was, and I like the idea that, like, she kind of used her own technique against her in a sense where it's like, like, any stranger could become dangerous. So the idea that this kind of it was kind of like
true,
you know, karma for Greta, who's left in the trunk at the end, and that's kind of where we ended the movie. And it's kind of, you know, it's like she might get out, she might not. It's kind of because they've put this little Eiffel Tower in the lock to like sort of keep her in, and I thought that doesn't look like it's going to hold for long. That looks like it's going to eventually slip out. So maybe we'll get the police after this. Maybe my suggestion. Well,
I forget, did they mention something about that, about like, hey, should we go to the police or something? And did they say something like, oh, you know, what good are they gonna do or whatever?
No, there was nothing like that. They just don't mention them at the end, but I assume they're going to, because what, you know. Like,
I forgot what it was. I thought there was some line that they said something, and I was like, or maybe they just said something like, oh, like, what do we do now, or something like that. And it was like, well, yeah, now you call the police. Like, it's very obvious, like, at this point that I think you have a case for this person being arrested.
Yeah, I mean, because at this point as well, like, when she was trying to escape earlier after she cut off the pinky, she found the body of the previous girl in the basement, and then at this point it's pretty clear, I think, to them that the PI's probably been killed as well, because he's probably been missing for a little while, and like, you know, there's a lot of reasons to, like, no, she's in trouble now, like, it's fine. There's definitely some leaps in logic to justify what's happening in the movie, but the performances are always pretty decent. In the case of Huppert, she's particularly good at being, you know, unhinged.
I feel like she's I don't know, I feel like she's kind of flat, but like in a way that I think kind of works for the character.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I don't think you see a lot of emotion from her, but yeah, I guess that's what she's kind of going for is this kind of creepy, like sociopath or something. So it's I think it works for her. Yeah, and then like the other characters, I don't know, they weren't like bad actors or anything, but I just don't feel like their characters were ever really that interesting, or you ever really feel like you knew that much about them. Like with Frances's character, like I didn't really understand like what was she doing in New York? Like was she trying to be an actress, or was she like, was there something specific that like I said she moved to the city or whatever, I guess after her mom died, but like I never really understood like what her goals are, what she was trying to do.
It never brought any up. It was just because the only thing she says is that her Erica, like her father bought her this apartment in the city, and she just moved here with her. It's like she needs a roommate. So,
which is like obviously you don't have to go like for the story. It's not like you need to know everything about the characters, but I just feel like they were such like blank slates that. Yeah, I really did not get a feel for their personality or anything at all.
There's never a hint of what Erica does. Like, obviously we see where Frances works, but I have no idea what Erica does, or like if there's something specific she's trying to do in the city, or whatever. Is she like? Does she go to college? Maybe is that what she's doing? Whilst Frances is doing,
Yeah, like I don't know, like were they going to school? Were they, trying to be like, figure like you move to New York a lot of times because you want to be like a writer or an actor or something, like were they trying to do something like that?
Given their age, because at one point she mentions graduation, but she doesn't specify if it was high school or college. I feel like I'll say it was college, and they're both out of school now, but I don't know what Erica's doing with her time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just like, and I guess Erica, you get a little bit of a sense that she's like maybe like a party girl or something. Like, she seems to be the one that likes to go out more or whatever.
Although,
but
to the movie's credit, she's never like stereotypical party girl. Like she's just like, it seems to be who she is, but it's not like she's ticking all the cliche boxes or being annoying with it or anything like that.
Yeah, which whatever is fine. It's just it was hard to really care that much about the characters when. Don't really have much of a feel for them or anything. Even if you're going to do something like kind of, cliche or whatever that you sometimes see in a horror movie, but like at least you kind of, glom onto a little bit, like they're like, oh, they're this person or whatever. Like, I mean, who knows? Maybe Frances is actually like a really bad person that like, that maybe we don't want to root for. I don't know. It's funny if like at the end she just says something like insanely racist. Like that's what I get for trusting a Hungarian person or something. It's like, whoa, hey, easy there, Frances.
I was not getting that vibe, I have to say, for the movie. But I mean, Tim is wiser than me apparently, so take that right. for what it is. Okay. I mean,
what do you think about the fake out of the dream sequence earlier on?
I mean,
it was. Wait, was it like a fake out of a fake out? It was like a.
Well, it was a weird dream sequence because she'd already been kidnapped by this point. So it was trying to do more that thing where they dream of like just the nice like morning, and then like wake up in reality where she's in a box and she's been kidnapped. Yeah. But it played really weird because she'd literally just been kidnapped. Yeah,
like she was just kidnapped. But then she wakes up, so you kind of think that the kidnapping was a dream, and then you realize that her not being kidnapped was a dream. So it's like, oh, this is a weird fake out of a dream within a weird hallucination or something. I don't know. I don't know. It felt like a little unnecessary. Like, I guess whatever. It gets a jump scare in, but I don't know. Felt a little cheap to me, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I can't argue with that. It was definitely one of the more sort of generic things that the movie whipped out. That's pretty much it. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about Greta. Like, I think it's perfectly serviceable and fine, and occasionally has one or two good scenes. It is very inoffensive. Like, I'm not mad I watched it. It was an easy enough watch. but probably not something I'm going to remember very much in the coming months, if not, and certainly not years. So I guess we'll rate the movie. So so we can get Greta out of here.
That's a good one. I'll go do that one.
So Tim, what are you rating Greta out of 10?
I'm not gonna go super high. I think I'm gonna give it like a 5.5. Like, I'm not gonna go super low because, again, there's nothing offensively bad about it, but I'm just really like, right down the middle. Like, well, I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but I'll give it that extra low 0.5 because there's a few good things here and there, and like the actors and stuff were good at least. So yeah, but and like you said, at the end of the day, it's not very memorable or anything.
Yeah. So what was that you give it? Sorry.
5.5.
5.5. Yeah, that sounds about right. I was thinking 5.56, kind of in that range. Yeah.
So we're doing 0.56s now?
No, 5.5 or 6.
Okay.
One of those two. This wisdom's a crock.
You got me excited. I can't wait to like bust out some like 7.82s and some 4.93s.
Yeah. I'll be 5.5. I wanted to be slightly more generous and give it the 6, but I feel like the 60s that I just like more than this, and I don't think I can quite go that far. But it's not a terrible time by any means.
Sure.
So, take that for whatever it's worth. But that has been Greta on this episode of Screams After Midnight, and we can tell you about a few different things now here at the end of the show.
God damn it.
Well,
I just thought of a joke I should have said earlier. All right, so you can edit this back in. When I was naming the Chloë Grace Moretz horror movies, the last one I should have said was I Love You, Daddy. That was the Louis C.K. movie she did that never got released.
Oh, okay. See, it's funny that you've explained what that was. I didn't remember. I remember that being a thing. I didn't remember the title of it.
I think it's called I Love You, Daddy, which sounds very gross.
Yeah, it sounds very gross, and I bet she does not. I think she regrets doing that movie now. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Not that she probably knew, or well, maybe she didn't know because maybe he tried something. Who knows?
Jeez, yeah.
But yeah, so that has been Greta on Screams After Midnight. We shall now tell you about several things you can do and things you can get and bonuses and things of that nature and ways that you can help us out. You can help us out, of course, by liking, subscribing, letting us know what you thought of the movie in the comments. You can rate us on your podcast app and give us a little review, 5 stars. And if you're not going to give us 5 stars, then keep it to yourself, basically. You can do that.
Yeah.
But you can do that. So one of the things we always promote at the end, of course, is patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But otherwise, that has been us. That has been Screams After Midnight. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you next time.